Oh, hi, I'm Georgina, International Neurodiversity Coach, and this week's article focuses on computer keyboards. I know you're thinking, how does that relate to neurodiversity? Well, I think it relates very, very well to neurodiversity and to the conversation about is your favorite preference for something? Is it a preference or is it an accommodation? That conversation gets had a lot when it comes to business and school situations and neurodiversities. And often a shift from the norm is considered an accommodation. And I'm wondering and challenging us to really look at that. Or is that a preference? And when we say something's just a preference, it makes it less aggressive to the people receiving that information, is what I'm noticing. It's about the language. So in this article, I talk about that. And I get in detail about keyboards, because maybe you haven't thought about why you're using the keyboard that you're using and what you love about that keyboard. I'll get you thinking about that by the end of this article. So I go over keyboards, key components, all the different things. And remember, those are all just variables that we align with and that we consider a preference. How do you like the keys to feel? How do you, is it backlit or not backlit? Does it have a wrist rest or not? Like, what materials is it made out of? There are so many keyboards. We know there are a wide variety of preferences. So when we talk about that, then I start to get into the definition of a preference over an accommodation, and it really gets down to the language. And there are slight differences. Maybe we as a society need to start to look at things more as, oh, somebody prefers to do this way, and they're more productive, and it works better for them. That's cool. Is that accommodating, or is that actually just honoring their preferences? I don't know. I think each situation is a little different. I know that in most work environments, if you went to the tech department, if you went to somebody and said, you know what, I need a different keyboard, like this one really, like, it's slowing me down, for a couple $100, somebody's going to get you the right keyboard if it makes that big a difference. And I can tell you, it really does make that big a difference for everybody, because most people have a preferred keyboard type and style. And then, just for the fun of it, and part of why this was on top of mind for me, is I just had a whole keyboard dance and kerfluffle, and I walk you through that in this article. And what that was like. My keyboard, the keys, some of the keys had actually worn off and the text was no longer on them, and it had gotten to the point that I was struggling with typing. I was having to pause. I was actually losing some of my train of thought. And so I recognized, I'm like, well, this keyboard is an issue. It's broken for me, and I need to do something about that. And so there's a journey as I go through that, and then wind up, figuring out how best I need my preferences and how best I need a keyboard to create the best results for me. And having just typed up this blog on that preferred keyboard, I am going to tell you it makes a world of difference once I had the right keyboard. The last blog I typed up, it took almost twice the amount of time, and it really got down to the keyboard and my ability to get my hands and my fingers where I needed them to go. So that's this week's article. I highly recommend you check it out. You read more about it. You'll get to see the pictures of the variety of keyboards that were tried and the processes, and maybe you'll learn a little something. And I would love to see and hear from you about what you've learned about your keyboard preferences. And I love a little more conversation about, is this a preference or is this actually an accommodation? Maybe we think about that more. I'm Georgina. It's always fun to hang out with you. Thanks for tuning in, and check out the rest of my social media and other stuff. Bye now.